How about that last week, huh? Man, shitty, yeah. No toilet paper, yeah. No toilet, yeah. To clean that shit up. Hey, you know what it is? It's me again, here with another video. On this video, why men cheat. Now, before I get too deep into it, I want you to let you know that not all men cheat. Alright? Like, don't come in here thinking that all men cheat, because there's people out there who actually are faithful to whomever they're with, you know what I mean? And are women alike, you know? So keep that in mind, alright? So also want to add that, this is my perspective on why the case is that men may cheat. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people make videos on their perspective. They talk about what they feel and how they view the world, right? That's just, I mean, if you go on YouTube and you type in headphones, Apple AirPods, you're gonna get 15 different videos, and you know what? Out of seven out of them are gonna say something the complete opposite what the others say. So it's everybody's perspective. This is my own. Please respect that, and let's move forward. So potentially, and the basic reasons as to why men cheat is from power and status, right? Power and status. Back in the day when it was like just tribal things going on, it meant that when you had a lot of wives that, you had power and you were the most fit one. And they also called that, I think, the alpha male. But then I saw the other day there was something about some other status that supersedes the alpha male. I forget what it's called, but look it up. There's something that supersedes the alpha male, which, like, I mean, as the days go by, more ideas come, don't they? You have those who are very rich and prosperous, and they use sex as a way of power as well. Men is a dominating world for the past 26,000 years. So, um, women or you were used as like another just another appliance. Women were put on this like lower shelf of like humanity in which men could have that power over. So that's you know the top of the line where why men cheat, or why we as a society today view as being other than with just one person. So power and status. Another part of the status quo is the social perspectives of it, of why men cheat. When I grew up, it was we had all the boys were together, and we'd all a lot of us would talk about how we had sex with women and this and that one and this one, and it was looked at as a form of like you were a man if you were with this woman, that woman, or if you got this girl or that girl. And it wasn't cool if you were gay. It wasn't cool if you didn't have a woman. You look lower than if you weren't with a girl, or if you didn't weren't interested in a girl, you were automatically gay. This is like the typical like kind of growing up thing in my time period. And a lot of the time, a lot of the boys then, or my friends around then, when I talk to them now, they were lying. They were full of shit. And the reason why they were is because you wanted to look good. You wanted to look good when you grew up and had that status, that social status of like being powerful and being better than the men that are around you. And that comes up, I think, a lot through history. It comes through a lot through the tribal era. It comes through a lot through where the rites of passage kind of societies where you're a man because you've done this, that, and this. And that's how it's been for a very long time in our day, in the last age of Pisces. And so men cheat now because of that kind of passing down of knowledge when it comes to being a man. It's like it's associated with the sex. It's associated with having more than one mate, and so on and so forth. a false sense of perception. Now, some men, they go out there and they're looking for a woman who they can dominate over, or a woman that is strong and has a tough backbone. Now, in either case, and there's more cases than one, but I'm looking at these two. In either case, once that man has achieved that woman who has, that weaker demeanor, he feels he's conquered and wants to move on to another one and continue his conquer of multiple women. And then you have the stronger aspect, the strong woman who goes in, he feels that, this woman's strong, she'll take care of me and the household and all that stuff. And then you get into that relationship and they find out that they have weaker sides to them, they have sadder sides to them, in which, make them up as human beings. And then that gets turned off, and then they decide they want to go and find someone else, and they move on to finding another person. Now, when we look at those two perspectives and we look at the society that we're in today, we can tell that a lot of it's been ingrained, growing up, not just from childhood with our parents, whether men have just lived with their mom or live with their dad or haven't lived with any of the biological parents. We could say that, TV shows, music, movies associated like that has an impact on how men look at women. And a lot of the time there's not a lot of guidance, for men when they're growing up. There's growing up with other men but have the same ideals as, the power and status kind of quo to it. And of course, when those men cheat, they're looking for those things that are going to support them in the best way. And that's what everyone does. Everybody's trying to find a relationship of that person that's going to support them in the best way. But as I've always said and always saying in all these different videos, it's how you treat yourself and how you look at yourself is what's going to determine what kind of relationship you're going to be in. And in saying that, we go into childhood insecurities. Now, a lot of what happens in our lives, the things that make us feel, pain and uncomfortable, is largely due by the fact that we've grown up, and in certain childhoods, we've gone through certain things that we carry with us. These feelings that are, not new. They've been there the entire time, and they're coming up in different situations throughout life. Now, for a lot of men, and this is, I think, standard in the Western culture, is that men grow up very distant from, being, love and affectionate and, having that kind of exchange of feelings when it comes to growing up. Women have that more across the board when growing up. I'm not saying it's 100%. There's men out there who do get that kind of development, and of course there's women who don't get that kind of development. But across the board, and majority throughout the Western society and culture, it's the fact that women growing up tend to get much more affection and are able to express their feelings much more than men. And men are left, have to be men. They have to deal with their feelings. They have to push it to the side. They have to, be strong and be that. And those qualities are important. Being a man is very important. Being strong is very important. But also, as all of us have male and female perspectives within us, men also have feelings. And just like on women on the other end as well, women have the masculine as well. Men have the strength, which is displaying in our lovely new age of Aquarius. So childhood traumas such as, not having love from one parent, not having love from both parents, not being able to give love to one parent, or not being able to give love to both parents. Now, there's a lot of kind of like, grow up and these children don't receive love. But there's also that other aspect as well of children not being able to give their love. And if men grow up and they feel they can't give their feelings, they can't give their love, especially maybe to their fathers, and many to their mothers, that has a strong impact on relationships growing up. And this is a high contribution to the way of life and why a lot of men cheat. I mean, we're not living in a society or tribes where we have to prove ourselves as men. You know what I mean? We live in a society where we grow up now, we go to school, we're all receiving some form of education that places us in the conveyor belt of workspace and paying bills and all that stuff. So there really isn't that aspect of trying to prove yourself or going through that sense of where you need to really go through that rite of passage of being a man. Because I mean, like, if we compare how our society is now and what the societies of the tribe life were back then, you would see that there's much more quality in that sense of, going through that sense of that rite of passage. The hunting and being a man and strategies and being strong. Like, there's a sense of quality in that, because in that society, of course, it was okay to have more than one wife, and those things were all right. And the exchange of how that society went about is fine. But now in this society, we're running into so many walls because everything seems to be a bit watered down when it comes to I guess, a sense of honor and a sense of chivalry and respect. And women who are not feeling like they're having respect from men, or even men who are not feeling like they have respect from women, is because of the fact that we are not having that sense of respect in ourselves. And that's how it was back in those tribal cultures. You had to have that strength within yourself. It wasn't something that you just wake up and you're a hunter. You woke up and you saw people with strength. You woke up and you saw people who knew what they needed to do and were there, and it was in them. In this society, we're growing up and we're seeing parents who are not fully confident in themselves. We're seeing parents who are not fully loving towards themselves. And so we grow up with that and we pass it down. And this is the contribution as to why men cheat. Now, I'm not saying any of this as if I don't know either ends of the spectrum, because I have been cheated on and I have been the cheater. I think it was in high school. Yeah, it was high school, my first year in high school. That's ninth grade. And I was cheated on. And what was interesting was the guy who was with the girl I was with, he even said it to my face. He was just, I remember distinctly walking down the steps, and he was just saying, he said, "Oh, I kissed your girl, Kev. I kissed your girl." And I didn't take him seriously. This was like, "Oh, you didn't do anything. You're ridiculous." Because it was like, going through that time period in my life, my father was in prison, and I was very very airy in space and just like not really paying attention to things. And it wasn't until we took a trip to the Bronx Zoo, my school, where I saw them together, holding hands, doing this, doing that. And then it really hit me then. And that showed me that, for me, it showed me that I needed to be more aware. I really needed to pay attention to what I was doing and who the person I was with. Because deep down inside, I don't really think I like the girl. It's funny, when you grow up at that age and you go to your friend's house and they kind of put you in the room with the other person, and you go through that making out time period. But when I was put in that room with her, it was just, I was just sitting there and I was trying to talk to her, because I was more of that. Even back then, I was more of the intellectual and trying to exchange of minds and stuff like that. And she wasn't really that talkative, and I didn't know what to say. You're a kid, you don't really know what's going on. But it's a learning curve. As a cheater now, I would say that I learned, particularly from doing that, was more about myself. Like, I cheated because I felt that from the person that I was with before, I wasn't receiving enough love and support. And so why I cheated on her and went to another person. And even when I go to that other person, it didn't really work out. So it really showed me that I had to have some type of form of respect for myself, because from learning about, being child in my teenage years, being cheated on, I completely put my focus on paying attention to that other person and really paying attention to what's going on with that other person. And then being a cheater, and this was up in my like mid 20s and stuff like that. And I realized that I needed to also incorporate myself because I wasn't happy. And also, realizing that part of the happiness in a relationship is being happy with yourself. And so learning that and going through all of that really showed me that the other person and yourself, they need to be balanced, very, very balanced. And that's how I learned from being the cheater and being the cheated. So there's a lot to learn from people who have been cheated on. There's lots of things to learn from the people who are cheaters, and there's a lot to learn from the man who is cheating on you. And there's a lot to learn about yourself, because being in those situations, there's obviously something about yourself that needs to be integrated, that needs to be balanced, that needs to be looked at more effectively. What do you consider you were doing wrong? What are things that you can do better? These are the things that you have to think about when you've been cheated on, whether you're a man or a woman, because women cheat too, and particularly for the same similar reasons as to men. We're men and women, maybe distinctively different in gender, but when it comes to feelings, they're pretty much the same. Like, they are the same, and usually the people who are together and the one that got cheated on and the one who did the cheating, their feelings are nearly similar, and you have to find those similarities, but you're not going to be able to see them unless you're able to see things within yourself. So that's my video on why men cheat, and maybe the title should be why some men cheat, but it wouldn't bring you here if I did say that, would it? So please subscribe. It's either down or above. You can have one-to-one sessions with me if you like. If you visit my website, theobserverseye.com/S services, and we can talk about these sorts of things too, and a whole slew of other things, and you can get the help to see yourself better and understand yourself, because once you understand yourself, you'll be able to see the world a whole lot clearer. I'll see you then.